Hey beauties, do you know that feeling when your cuticles look like they've been through a meat grinder after a manicure? Or when your gel polish starts lifting after just a week and your nails feel as thin and fragile as old wallpaper? Stop, you don't need to torture your hands anymore. Today, I'm sharing my top 50 tips for a safe and long-lasting combined manicure that will make your nails strong and beautiful. Even if you're a beginner and just starting your journey, don't worry. I'll show you how to avoid common mistakes and how to choose and use your efile bits properly so you don't damage your nails. We'll go over manicure techniques using diamond bits and manual tools so that you can do a salon quality manicure right at home. And here's the best part. It doesn't matter what your budget is. Whether you've got a budget efile or a fancy one, there's always a manual tool alternative for each technique. By the end of this video, you'll have all the knowledge you need to safely do your own manicures at home and avoid those common mistakes. So, should we start with the removal? Let's talk about removing the product. If you're a beginner or self-taught, your best bet is a red bit. Bits also differ in abrasiveness. Red ones are soft, blue are medium, and green are coarse. Red bits have tiny teeth and will remove the coating in thin layers, allowing you to better control your movements and removal intensity. Bits aren't just categorized by color, but also by shape. Here you can see a popular bit called a corn bit. There are different diameters too, but don't get hung up on that. I don't want to confuse you or fill your head with stuff that won't help you in your work. Let's figure out which bit is better to choose, carbide or ceramic. If you're a beginner, it's better to start with ceramic. Why? Carbide bits have sharper teeth, making it easier to overfile the nail if you don't have experience. By the way, they don't last as long as ceramic ones. But here's the catch. Ceramics are more expensive, so if you're on a budget, carbide bits might be more cost-effective. However, ladies, you should have a ceramic bit too, at least to feel the difference in how these tools work and understand which one suits you better. So, for beginners, the best option to remove product is a corn-shaped bit with a red band. If you're feeling more confident, you can switch to blue or even green bands. They remove the material faster. There are also special bits for filing from the inside. These are super thin, small, and have a pointed tip, so it's easy to get into those tricky areas. Now that we've got the bits sorted, let me show you how to use it without causing any disasters. For quick and safe product removal, I follow a pattern. Actually, I've got two of them for convenience, and I'm about to show you everything step by step. The first scheme is simple. We start from the left side, carefully removing the coating near the sidewall with the tip of the bit. Then we smoothly move to the central part. Here we work with the belly of the bit, that is, its middle part. Next, we turn the finger and remove the lower right corner, making sure to move the bit diagonally so that the teeth don't accidentally catch the edge of the nail and tear it off. Then, again with the tip of the bit, we remove the material that was in the cuticle area and smooth out the material. And now, let me show you what that looks like in action. The first rule when removing: you should always have support on your pinky or ring finger. This is your hand stabilizer and it will make it easier for you to control the feel handle. The second rule: always pull back the sidewalls. Then you won't be so scared to remove the coating near the skin with the bit and you won't injure yourself. Now, about the RPMs, we set it to 20 to 25,000. Pull back the left sidewall and start removing the coating with smooth, even downward movements. Imagine you're drawing a straight line with a pen. It's the same here. The pressure on the bit should be consistent. If you press harder sometimes and lighter other times, the coating will be removed unevenly. Removed from the central part? Great! Now place your thumb under the finger you're working on and pull back the right sidewall. Position the bit diagonally and remove the material from the right corner. Don't forget to rest on your pinky. It's our stabilizer to keep your hand steady. Then, with the same careful movements, move up to the central part. Once you've removed the main material, you're left with removing the coating near the left sidewall and in the area around the cuticle. For this, stretch both sidewalls and carefully run the tip of the bit along the right sidewall, moving up to the cuticle area. Once the main material is removed, we move on to smoothing the material. We do this with transverse movements. This removes another thin layer of material and there will be much less work with the file. Why is it important to remove according to a scheme? Because if you do it chaotically, a little here, a little there, you won't get an even removal and you'll see dips and bumps on the nail. And to level them out later will take more time and nerves. Okay girls, let's go over the second removal scheme. Here we work in reverse. First we remove the lower right corner and smoothly transition to the central part. It's very important not to keep the bit in one place because it will burn and you're likely to remove too much and cause overfiling. After removing from the central part, pull back the sidewall and remove the material with the tip of the bit. Then pull back both sidewalls. Remove the material from the right side and from the area near the cuticle, after which we smooth out the material. How long should you remove or how much material should be left? In general, if the coating has worn well, you can leave about 10% of the material on the nail. But if you see any lifting, you must remove them and take off the material down to the base. Because if you leave even small lifting and apply a coating on top, be prepared for them to spread further and at the next removal there will be more lifting and they will be deeper. Alright girls, let's chat about how to remove the material if you don't have an efile. No worries, I'll spill all the tea in order. You'll need a 180 grit file and a gel polish remover. Here's the kicker. Most top coats and gels don't dissolve, so you'll need to file off about half the material with your nail file. We start in the center and smoothly move to the left sidewall. Right now, our file movements are from right to left. Once we reach the left side, pull the sidewall and change the file's direction from left to right to remove the material from the left corner. Now turn your hand so the free edge is facing away from you. Use your middle finger to pull the right sidewall and gently remove the right corner with the same movements. To remove the material along the sidewall, pull back the skin again and guide your file parallel to the nail plate. Remember this trick? Using these half oval motions, we file down the material and move towards the cuticle area. So if you're seeing these little islands, it means we've reached the base coat. Time to stop. Grab your gel polish remover or gel system remover. Apply it to cotton or a sponge. Make sure the cotton is fully saturated, but before you press the soaked cotton to your nail, don't forget to apply cuticle oil around the cuticle and skin. This will keep your skin and cuticles from drying out while the product dissolves. Next, press the cotton with the remover onto the nail. Wrap it tightly with foil and let it sit for the time recommended on your remover bottle. For me, it's 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, we unwrap the finger and see that the liquid has worked its magic and the gel has dissolved. We remove it either with a wooden stick or with this metal tool. Everything basically comes off on its own. This is a great option for those who don't have an e-file or for those who want to do their own manicure but don't want to buy all these bits, nail drill and so on. This alternative works perfectly. Okay, we've cleaned off the product and this is how the nail looks under the gel. Thanks to our little trick of applying oil to the cuticle and skin beforehand, they didn't dry out. If we hadn't done that, you'd see a white residue on the skin, which isn't cute at all. Next, we need to thoroughly open the cuticle pocket to work on it with the e-file. There are different ways to do this and I'll show you 3 hand tools that can help. First is the standard wooden stick we're all used to. Second is a pusher. Yes, you can use it to open the cuticle, but not on all hands. Where there are adhesions, it's better to use a tool that opens more precisely. Now let's break down how to properly open the cuticle pocket. We gently slide the stick under the cuticle, carefully separating it from the nail plate. And at the end, we slightly twist the stick to lift the pocket. If there are any adhesions or little cracks, you need to be super gentle and take your time to avoid damaging the skin even more. A lot of techs, especially beginners, try to open the pocket with basic efile bits. Sure, that's an option, but it doesn't always work on every hand. And if you keep using this method, sooner or later, you'll tear the cuticle, which will just make things worse. That's why I recommend opening the pocket with a manual tool. It's way more reliable and safer. To finish up, always run the stick like this under the cuticle. This is to check if we've opened the pocket well. If the stick gets stuck somewhere, take a closer look. There's probably some unfinished work there. You need to fix it so that the bit doesn't make an overfiling in this spot. Now let's talk about the next tool. It's a metal beveled pusher. It's very convenient for opening adhesions or heavily stuck cuticles. It has a thin tip that doesn't bend on the first nail, like wooden sticks often do. After opening, don't forget to double check, is everything clean? And the third tool for opening the cuticle is a shovel pusher. It also has a thin, slightly rounded edge that allows you to gently lift the pocket. But this tool is better used on hands with light cuticles where there are no adhesions to avoid traumatizing the skin. Now, let's chat about lifting the nail plate scales. You can do this with a file or a buffer. If you're a beginner, I recommend starting with a buffer because newbies often overfile the nail with the edge of the file. To avoid this, use files with a safe edge like these. If you have regular files, just rub a wooden stick along the edges a few times to blunt them. We leave the scales and align the nail before coating. In simple terms, before painting any product, you sand it to make the surface matte. This way the primer layer adheres better. It's the same story here. To make the base coat stick, we remove the shine from the nail. And there are principles here too. Don't just rub the file around thinking everything's ready for coating. There should be clear, smooth file movements, otherwise if we just rub randomly, we definitely won't get an even surface and might even wear down the skin near the cuticle. So, we're doing these long arc-shaped strokes from the center of the nail to the left sidewall. Then, pull back the right sidewall and with the tip of the file, gently remove the shine along the sidewall and in the nail sinus. This part is super important. There shouldn't be any shine left, especially in those tricky areas. Girls, let me show you again on the nail where we completely remove the product. First, we remove the shine from the center, then smoothly move to the left side. Pull back the sidewall and remove the shine there. Then we move to the right side. It's super important. Don't forget to dust off the nail to clearly see where the shine is still left. These areas need to be buffed too. If you leave them, the base will definitely lift later and the material won't hold. Now about bits. I have a video on my channel where we go over each bit in detail, but let's quickly recap the basics. I recommend having two bits to start with, a blue and a red flame bit. These are the go-to bits for most techs, whether you're a pro or a beginner. The red bit is for soft, thin cuticles and the blue is for thicker, more rubbery cuticles. The standard diameters are 1.8 mm or 2.3 mm. When working with the bit, set your speed to 7 to 10 kRPM if you've got a powerful efile like the Marathon or Strong. If your machine is weaker, you can go up to 15,000 RPM because at lower speeds, the bit will just drag and won't clean anything properly. As for the direction of rotation, this is where a lot of people get confused. Let me explain. In forward, we work on the left side and in reverse, we work on the right side. The bit should always rotate against the resistance of the nail. Bits have markings and each color corresponds to a grit. For example, red has 240 grit, blue has 180 grit. Since my cuticle is soft, a red bit will work for me. Now let's break down the bit. The bit is divided into three parts: the tip, the cheek, and the belly of the bit. The working part is the cheek. We use it to work under the cuticle, remove all the pterygium. We sometimes use the tip in our work too, but it should never press into the plate because that way we'll only make an overfiling. And often newbies perceive an already made overfiling as an uncleaned pocket and continue to press even harder on the bit, traumatizing the plate. So now I'll show you the correct position of the bit. When you start working with the efile, never put the bit in this position because in this position, the bit will start pushing dust even deeper under the cuticle and you simply won't see what you're filing. Set the bit at a 45-degree angle relative to the cuticle and plate. In this position, we use the part of the bit we need the cheek. Second rule, work only on the skin, no pressure on the plate. When we approach the sinus, we also turn the bit. Remember that we lead the bit parallel to the cuticle, while the tip of the bit should always remain suspended and never pressing into anything. Now let me visually show you what happens when the bit's position is wrong in relation to the nail plate. If the tip presses into the nail, we get a groove. This is what we call overfiling. Now here's the correct bit position for effective and safe work. Alright, let's get to practice. Set the bit speed to 9000 RPM and start working on the left side. Use your thumb to pull back the sidewall so you get good access with the bit and can reach everything. Without this, you won't be able to get into all the pockets and sinuses, and well, we all know that means no quality manicure. All your movements should be smooth, as if you're gently scratching the skin without strong pressure and jerks. Once you've cleaned out the side pocket, pull back the fingertip pad and file away the inner callus. If the skin is really tough or rubbery, it's better to switch to a blue bit. It's faster and more effective for those areas. Next, switch the bit's rotation and, starting from the proximal fold, clean everything with short, even strokes. Just like with material removal, don't stay in one spot for too long. As you approach the sinus, change the angle of the bit, everyone to 2 strokes, so the side of the bit passes parallel to the skin and the tip gets right between the nail and the skin. And don't forget to rest your pinky for stability so the efile handle doesn't wander. It might seem like a small detail, but it makes a huge difference in the final result. Constantly remove dust with a brush so you can see what you're filing. Very often, beginners perceive built-up dust as uncleaned pterygium and start filing further with the bit and don't understand that they've already made an overfiling. So if it seems to you that you haven't cleaned something, first remove all the dust and then continue working. After working with the efile, check your work. Now I'll tell you a method for those who don't have an efile. Take a cuticle remover, apply it to the skin and evenly distribute it around the perimeter of the nail. We are going to clean the pterygium using 2 methods. The first one is with this little tool called a ring pusher. It has 2 sides. One is the working side and the other isn't. If you notice that nothing is getting cleaned during the process, just flip the tool over. Wait for the time indicated on the jar, usually about a minute. But I warn you right away, if you have wounds or cuts, you can't use the remover because the wounds will take even longer to heal after it. A minute has passed. Remove most of the remover with a dry napkin and start cleaning. The ring should lie on the nail plate, not on its side, not with the tip but lying flat. That's when you'll get results. You can see here how well this tool works. And for those of you who don't use a nail drill, this little helper will be a game changer. After the cleanup, make sure to neutralize the remover with water and dry everything off with a clean wipe. At the end of the process, don't forget to check how clean the work is. You'll notice that the quality of a manicure done by hand tools is just as good as with the efile. And hey, if all you've got is a wooden stick, don't worry. You can still get a quality manicure with that. Just apply the remover and wait until it softens the skin. There are different types of removers, some with urea, alkaline-based ones, and even fruit acid-based ones. I personally love using the ones with acids and urea. After a minute, also remove most of it with a dry napkin and start working. With the sharp edge of the stick, press against the plate, and with this movement, start cleaning the pterygium and everything that has accumulated there. The only downside of a wooden stick is that it also starts to soften and the tip is no longer as sharp, so I recommend using one stick per hand. Pay special attention to the sinuses. Often they don't clean them properly and some pieces skins remain and then the coating lifts and you get discouraged. So keep those sinuses in check. You can also use this tool, but honestly, I think it's more suited for pedicures. Sure, it can clean up the pterygium. I'm not saying it won't work, but if I had to choose between this tool and a wooden stick, I'd go for the stick. The working end here isn't as thin or sharp as I'd like, so it's hard to get into the sinus, and you'll still need to finish up with a stick or bit. Also, don't forget to neutralize the remover properly after cleaning and wipe everything down with a dry wipe. Alright girls, check out the result. Even with a simple wooden stick, you can make everything look nice and clean, even if you don't have special bits, an efile, or all that fancy stuff at home. There's always an alternative to any efile technique, so don't stress about it. Now, let's move on to cutting, and let's figure out why even after a clean manicure, you might not get a perfect cut. I've got two types of scissors here, one with straight blades and the other with hooks. Yep, the ones with the curved tips that I'm always talking about. Today, I'm using the hook ones. And honestly, I recommend them to everyone, both beginners and experienced techs. These scissors have an anatomical curve just like the sinus, so you won't need to twist your hand into awkward positions while trimming. Alright, let's get started. Carefully slide the lower blade of the scissors under the cuticle. We can't see it and we don't need to peek in there. Always keep your eye on the upper blade. Don't let it tilt onto the nail plate because then you'll only cut off the lower part of the cuticle, leaving just a skirt on top and you'll have to redo everything. It's also important not to tilt the blade onto the skin. If you only cut the upper part, the lower part will remain. And again, you'll have to start over. One of the biggest mistakes beginners make is trying to cut off too much, almost down to the capillaries. Stop! You don't need to go that far. An aggressive cut like that will only cause the cuticle to grow back even faster. It's a defense mechanism of our body. We're only cutting off this translucent strip. If you cut it bald, the effect will last for 2 or 3 days and then the cuticle will start to flake off. And by the next correction, you'll have twice as much work to do. Don't rush to do what they often show on Instagram, with a perfectly clean look and shiny sidewalls. You should never cut the sidewalls with nippers or scissors. They need to be buffed with efile bits and polishers, and that will be enough. Now, let's grab those scissors. Slide the lower blade under the cuticle, keep an eye on the upper blade and start cutting carefully with tiny steps. Try to get a smooth, continuous sausage from the cuticle. Our blades should always be parallel to the cuticle, exactly at a 90-degree angle to the cuticle, not the skin. That's how you'll get an even cut. But if you see any little hangnails after cutting, don't rush to grab the scissors or nippers again. This is a typical beginner mistake, trying to cut one little hangnail and ending up creating 5 or 10 more. So if you miss something, don't worry. Grab a silicone carbide buffer and work with it. It takes care of all these tiny imperfections like a charm without a sea of blood and frayed nerves. It's often because of incorrect scissor positioning or dull blades that you can't get an even cut. By the way, to check your scissors, take a lint-free wipe and try to cut it. If the scissors pull the fibers even a little bit or chew the wipe, it's time to send them for sharpening. We're done with the combo manicure. Let's check the cut. Everything's clean and neat, but we're not finished yet. We still need to apply the coating, so let's move on. Everything we've done up to this point is called mechanical preparation of the nail plate for coating. Next comes chemical preparation, which starts with degreasing. Many people underestimate this step and think that just wiping the surface with a wipe is enough. But what about our sidewalls and nail folds? Take an orange stick and a wipe soaked in degreaser, wrap it as shown in the video, and thoroughly clean out everything from the sidewalls and nail folds. A lot of dust accumulates there and we need to remove it all so the coating doesn't lift. Then we wipe the nail plate and degrease it. Next up is the fresher, also known as a dehydrator. It removes excess moisture from the nails, but that's not all. It also helps to further degrease the nail plate. I apply it to all nails except for dry nail types as they don't need it. And don't worry if the dehydrator gets on the skin, there's nothing wrong with that. For nails with hyperhidrosis, excessive sweating, you need to apply the dehydrator several times to dry them well. After the dehydrator comes the primer, also called bond bonder or ultra bond. It's all the same thing, just different names. There are two types of primers, acidic and acid-free. In 90% of cases, we use non-acid primer. Apply it in a thin layer with a semi-dry brush, and most importantly, do not layer the coats on top of each other. If you apply it in such a way that the nails are really wet, the material will peel off 100%. The primer is like double-sided tape. It strengthens adhesion and ensures a good bond between the base and the plate. Acid primer is used very rarely. I usually find that its expiration date passes before I get a chance to use it. I only use it on hyperhidrosis nails. You apply it with a semi-dry brush too, but instead of strips, just dot it. 2 to 3 dots per nail is enough. After applying the acid-free primer, wait 20 to 30 seconds for it to evaporate. With the acidic primer, you need to wait a full minute. After acid primer, we see the nail plate turning white. As soon as the plate becomes completely white, you can safely apply the base. Now, about base coat. You know, I often see questions on the channel like, I buy the same base as you, but it still doesn't last for everyone. And I have a counter question. Are you applying the same base to everyone? We don't choose a base by brand, but by nail plate type. It's a big misconception to think that if a brand is expensive, the base should last for everyone. No, that's a myth. Let me show you visually why a base might not last. For example, let's take two bases. One is a premium segment, a rubber base from Luna, and the other is a bit more budget-friendly, but also rubber, from Nail Apex. We apply them to testers in a medium layer, not super thin, but not as thick as for leveling. We cure for a minute, remove the tacky layer and start testing. We bend the first one. This is the base from Luna. Yes, it's flexible, but it bends with effort, and this is immediately a signal that it will start to chip on thin nails. It just won't last on a soft nail plate, especially if applied in a slightly thicker layer. Let's take the second base, also remove the tacky layer and try to bend it. And here we see that this base is more versatile. It's soft, bends easily, and is better suited for flexible nails since it will follow all their curves perfectly. That's why you should test every base you buy to understand its properties and figure out which nail type it works best with. You shouldn't rely on just one base for everything. You should have at least 3. Since my nails are soft, the Nail Apex base works best for me. It has a liquid consistency, and even if you apply it in a thin layer, it won't flow into the sidewalls, which is especially helpful for beginners. Apply the base with a flat brush, covering the entire nail plate with gentle rubbing motions. Make sure you coat the whole surface. No bald spots, because where there's no base, the gel won't hold. Under any coating, we always make a layer with a clear base even if it's a camouflage base. Why? Firstly, it will protect the nail plate from pigment penetration. Secondly, when removing, you will see where your gel or camouflage base ends, so you won't overfile the nail plate. And thirdly, hard materials don't have the same adhesion as the base, so an underlayer is necessary. After applying the base, we cure it in the lamp for 1 minute or as long as indicated on the bottle. Let's move on to aligning and strengthening the nail plate. But just like with base coats, you need to test gels too because they all have different properties and purposes. So let's test some. We've got 3 different samples: Builder Gel from Delujo, Simple from Gamma, and Light Acrygel from Luna. We'll apply them in 2 ways. One with a thin layer and the second with an aligning layer, so we can see how they behave and how well they adhere to different types of nails. Plus, our test will show how long the gel takes to cure in the thicker alignment layer. We've applied and cured for 1 minute, removed the sticky layer, and now it's time to test. First up, Light Acrygel from Luna. In a thin layer, the gel is flexible and doesn't crumble, which is a good sign. It shows that even in a thin layer, the gel won't chip off in pieces, but will follow the curves of the nail plate. When applied thicker, it becomes less flexible, but still bendable. However, on very soft, damaged nails, it may start to chip. So if you're working with nails like that, you might have to file down the natural nail a bit. Next up is the Simple Gel from Gamma. In a thin layer, it behaves like a rubber base, very soft and won't strengthen the nail plate in this version. But let's see how it behaves in an alignment layer. Here, it's much firmer but still retains flexibility without breaking. This gel is perfect for thin nails because in a thin layer, it will adapt to the nail's curves without chipping, while in an alignment layer, it will strengthen the nail plate. And finally, we have the Builder Gel from Delujo. In a thin layer, is also very flexible and doesn't crumble, despite being a builder gel. You can easily bend or twist it. In a thicker alignment layer, is the stiffest of the 3. It still has some flexibility, but much less. This gel is ideal for nail extensions and will hold the arch perfectly. However, if you're applying it to soft nails, you'll need to file the edge too. This is the gel I'll be using on my nails as a strengthener. The gel itself is pretty liquid like a base, and if you're building with it on dual forms, it might not be very convenient, especially if you don't know how to work with it. But don't worry, I already have a video on my channel where I show you how to handle such gels. Extensions are done easily without excessive filing of the underside. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll link that video here. Make sure to check it out. To apply the gel, we'll need 2 brushes. A flat one to coat the entire nail plate and a thin one to distribute the gel neatly. Oh, and this middle one will come in handy a bit later for bringing the color gel right up to the cuticle. First, we remove the tacky layer from the base to avoid a material conflict. What's that, you ask? It's when one coating peels off from another. For example, you apply gel, cure it, and then apply a colored gel polish. Everything seems fine, but after a couple of days, the gel polish starts lifting. That's what we call a material conflict. So, it's better to remove the dispersion layer, especially from gel, because it's too pronounced there. We pick up a small amount of gel on the brush. Now our task is to coat half of the nail plate so that the main drop of material is evenly distributed without any extra hassle. We'll be strengthening using the layering technique as we completely remove the material from this nail, along with the previous gel. So we're only coating half of the plate. Pay close attention to make sure the sidewalls are also coated with gel, because if you don't do this, the central part will be strengthened, but the sidewalls won't be. You can't skip this step. Now we pick up a drop of gel and start spreading it from the middle of the nail to the free edge. At the same time, we tilt the nail downwards so that the gel flows in the right direction. If you see that there is not enough gel and it is laying down in a thin layer, add another drop and use a thin brush to help guide the gel into the side edges and around the entire perimeter. At the end, we pull the material towards the free edge to ensure that when we file, we have sufficient thickness at the tip and it is reinforced. The ideal thickness of the coating should be approximately the thickness of a credit card. So at this stage, the nail should be slightly thicker to ensure that we do not lose the desired thickness when filing. Once the gel is applied, cure it in the lamp for 1 minute. After curing, we don't remove the tacky layer as we'll be applying the same gel. This is the second stage of strengthening. Now we coat the entire plate to strengthen not just the tip but the whole nail. To prevent the gel from chipping near the cuticle, there should be a minimal amount in this area. The gel should be there, but in a thin layer as the nail is soft and flexible in this zone. If you apply a mountain of material there, it will just start peeling and the manicure won't last. Alright, so once the nail plate is fully coated, we place a small drop of gel near the cuticle and start pulling it towards the free edge. Then we flip the hand over and tilt the finger slightly downward so that the material moves away from the cuticle area and carefully centers in the apex zone to create the correct architecture. On this nail, we still have a layer of gel from the previous strengthening, so we'll be strengthening it using the alignment technique. We fully coat the plate with a flat brush to create a wet base. And on the uncured gel, we place a drop of material and distribute it with a thin brush. This way, it will be easier and simpler for you to bring the material to the sinuses and sidewalls. It'll be much neater with a thin brush. After distributing the gel, we flip the hand again so that the material centers and we don't end up with pies instead of a beautiful coating. After curing, if you look from the side, you can already see a beautiful and, most importantly, correct nail shape forming. We have a smoother rise in the apex zone, an even sidewall without a mountain of material, and the nail is strengthened as needed. Thoroughly remove the sticky layer and move on to filing to bring everything to the final result. First, we remove the length to reveal the thickness of the tip. We periodically look at the tip. We see that everything turned out as planned. Sufficient thickness and a strong tip. If, like me, you plan to shape it into a soft square, guide the file diagonally under the nail to avoid overfiling the growth points. This is very important. If you overfile the growth points, the nail will start growing out with a step and may break in this area. In the worst case, onycholysis might start. We round the corners and move on to the second finger. Now, if you look at the tip, the nail seems very thin, but don't rush to get upset. First, let's remove the length. Then we look at the tip again and see that now the thickness matches that of a credit card. This means we've got exactly what we need. We also round the corners. If it's uncomfortable for you or you can't reach with the file, just pull back the side wall. This will give you the necessary access to carefully file the corners without damaging the growth points. Girls, one more important thing. Never hold your file angled upwards like this. Doing that will definitely overfile your side walls and your nail shape will be disrupted. The file should be held straight or slightly tilted downwards, then everything will turn out as it should. This is the kind of beautiful and correct nails we end up with. Smooth architecture, safe alignment, and a coating that won't overload the plate. You already know how to do combo and classic manicures, and you've seen how to strengthen nails. But how do you apply black or any other tricky color so that it doesn't flow? Rule number 1. Choose a quality color gel polish so you won't have to apply 3 to 4 layers. Otherwise, you'll turn those neat nails into chunky pies. The gel polish shouldn't be patchy or streaky. If you have such polishes, throw them out immediately because they'll take a ton of nerves and time. Regarding consistency, gel polish shouldn't be like water, but it also shouldn't stretch like honey. The optimal consistency is something like a liquid base. We always apply complex colors like black, white, yellow, and pastels in 2 thin layers so they cure well. Now, life hack number 1. Before applying the color, push back the side wall with a pusher. This will give you an extra 1 to 2 millimeters of depth for coloring. Second life hack, don't pick up too much gel polish on the brush. The brush should be saturated with material, but not so much that it's dripping because it will immediately start to flow. The first movement, we make a stroke along the central part. This way we remove the excess material from the tip of the brush. Then, with small back and forth motions, fan out the bristles like a little fan. This will make it easier to get the polish close to the sidewalls. One side is ready. We turn the finger, pull back the side wall, and color the second side. When we've done the so-called outlining, we lay the brush flat on the plate and with a light motion, almost through the air, transfer the material from the brush to the nail. Don't try to make everything perfect at this stage right away. There's a fine brush for that, which will be much more convenient and precise for the final touches. Then we take a thin brush. It doesn't have to be the same as mine. It can have longer bristles. The main thing is that it's not fluffy, but thin. We moisten it with color and carefully start bringing the material under the cuticle. Don't forget to rest your pinky, it plays a big role here too. This helps keep your hand from shaking, and the outlining turns out even. You can rest against the finger you're coating or against your hand, whatever is more comfortable. Another life hack, always pull back the skin in the area you're coloring. This way, you'll see better how close you can bring the material. If I see that there's not enough material on the brush, I take it from the central part. When the whole nail is covered, we smooth out the color with a thin brush to remove these streaks. We don't press on the brush to avoid making even more streaks. We work almost through the air. And on the first layer, we already have a dense and deep coating. If you want to leave the black color, then after curing the first layer, it's better to apply one more. This way, the color will be even denser. But if you want to apply some decorative top coat with glitter or shimmer over the black color, then one layer is more than enough. And today, together with you, I want to try one top coat with a shimmer effect and at the same time show you how it will look on black and white colors. It's so thick because of the shimmer, it won't be super convenient to apply. But you know what? That's even cool because if you draw patterns on it, they won't spread and will stay clearly in place. Let's start with black. We apply the top coat in a medium layer, then take a wooden stick or thin dotting tool and start fiddling on the nail like this, creating patterns. At first I thought it would turn out to be some kind of nonsense because it didn't make sense in my head at all. But look how cool it turned out. The main thing is to bring the top coat right up to the black color so that there isn't this contrasting strip at the cuticle, because when the nail grows out, this strip will be very noticeable and will catch the eye. Now let's see how this top coat will look on milky gel. We also apply it in a medium layer, but here you cannot worry about perfectly bringing the top coat right up to the milky gel. Here on the light shade, there won't be such a contrast as with the black color. We repeat the same movements with the stick or dotting tool, and in my opinion, the top coat looks much more effective on this finger. If we added some nail length here, it would be super. For some reason, this design reminds me of pearls. It turns out very delicate. This could even be an idea for wedding nails. We leave our design uncured for about 30 seconds to allow the top coat to self-level. By the way, it's better to hold the hand in an upside-down position. This way, the material distributes itself perfectly, and then we cure it in the lamp for no less than a minute. Since this top coat holds its shine so well, I didn't bother covering it with a clear top coat. It already looks amazing as is. Our nails are ready. I really hope that I was able to explain and show everything to you clearly. If so, be sure to write about it in the comments. It will be very pleasant for me. And if you have any questions left, write those too and we'll figure everything out together. Thank you so much for watching this video to the end. I know it turned out quite long and I hope you found the information you were looking for. That's all for today, and as always, I won't say goodbye for long. See you soon. Bye bye, beauties.